All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again. This is Chandra, and I have my awesome guest with me today, Dr. Ashley Wiley Johnson. This is
Hi.
Chats During Naps. Hey, the only discussion that happens during nap time. And as you know, the question of the day is, will our children let us finish the interview? So let's get started. Because we don't know how long they're gonna let us talk, right? So
Right.
it is so good to have you here with us today. I am so pumped because you are a resource and a wealth of knowledge that every parent needs right now, especially millennial parents during this
Thank
quarantine
you.
madness. So Ashley, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I guess first and foremost, I'm a mom. That's the first thing about me. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and in addition to that, I am a part of a family legacy ran business. My mom established our organization, LA Speech and Language Therapy Center, 41 years ago. So I was raised in the clinic. My first job, I tell people all the time, was at 5 years old, which is the truth. I was a typical model in one of our preschools. I've been a secretary, I've done everything. And now I am the vice president of operations here at LA Speech. So we have early intervention programs across Los Angeles County, 5 of them to be exact. We also have a typical preschool program. We have a therapeutic preschool program. And we do speech therapy, social skills, and focus primarily on autism. That's kind of the thing for us. So I'm excited, about this place in my life, but I manage everything from the day to day, also oversee our staff, the recruitment for our staff, and the retention component as well. And also growing the business is something I'm tasked with. So I wear a lot of hats that I love.
That's right. Your business is quite the family affair. I mean, your mom, who is amazing, ran it, while raising you and your sister, and now you're essentially helping her to grow the business. How do you manage, all the interpersonal relationships at work?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I thought about that question, I thought, I'm probably one of the only people that are in a workplace where at any given time my mom may walk in my office and be like, "This office is a mess." And I'm like, I just joked with her last week when she did that and said she was going to have a lawsuit on her hands. I said I was going to file a workers' comp claim. But no, it's really intense working with your mother, but it's actually a blessing. I mean, on the other hand, I'm really blessed because I can, for example, bring my child to work. She's here with me all the time. She's been there since she was 8 weeks when I went back to the office. She stayed there. She goes into our early intervention sites just like I did. She was downstairs in our Mommy and Me program. So it's amazing. And then I think also as working with your mom, she knows my dreams. So she understands that she creates a really safe place for me to be able to build and develop and kind of work within my passion zone. So I think I feel to be one of the most lucky people in the world in terms of my work situation. It's the best thing to thrive and just create, which is what we've done over these past 41 years, and now me working 13 years into it in a leadership capacity.
That I just love hearing your story because it's what happens when you have the right team in place, the right people surrounding you, the level of success you can have. Just to give folks a background who aren't familiar with the Los Angeles area, the organization that Dr. Ashley, can I call you Dr. Ashley?
Sure.
Dr. Ashley
Everybody does.
is running and growing is quite extensive, and it has such a huge impact on the community at large. We know raising kids takes and building and growing a small business that has had such a great impact on the community takes a lot of energy and time. How do you balance it all?
Gosh, I think probably for me, it's my faith. I put God first. I spend a lot of time just praying about certain things. And even in the process, I use prayer for meditation. when I'm thinking through something, moments when I'm overwhelmed. I also think I try to be able to just take it one step at a time. My mom always says, if you continue to do the right thing, the blessings will come. And that's the way that I've kind of led myself, throughout this time. I know that there's going to be the moment for everything, the moment to get my doctoral degree, the moment to get married, the moment to start leading, the moment to release my first product, and I just wait for it. But in the meanwhile, I just take it one step at a time, stay kind of honed in the process, and also, of course, build some time for myself as needed so that I can make sure to be the best me as possible for all the different things I'm needed for right now.
No, that is amazing. How, as everyone knows at home, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's lots of protests happening due to the injustices that are going on in the world. How has your business model changed since COVID?
Wow. Chandra, it has changed significantly, which is amazing. I mean, we went from, I think around March 13th, my mom was going to walk in and say, all right, we're going to have to all file for unemployment. And this is like an organization of about 50 employees.
Right.
And because she's, older, she wasn't familiar with internet strategies and different things that you can do. And so she relied on me to be able to assist and kind of switch the way that we looked at things for our organization. It was the hardest, most challenging thing I ever did in my life, but we completely switched all of our therapy practices and classroom practices to a virtual domain. If you can imagine, we are serving about 200 consumers at this point now on Zoom social skills groups, Zoom preschool, Zoom early intervention, parent training, individual speech therapy. Everything has gone to the Zoom telehealth platform. It's been interesting because we've had to be very dynamic. How do you have a group on there and not just waste kids' time? How do you make it worthwhile so that the children are still learning and thriving? Because at the end of the day, that's my primary focus, is making sure that the therapy and the treatment, the education that we're providing these kids is actually working. So it's been very amazing to craft these curriculums that are online based. We do a lot of movement, a lot of songs, I have adults that are doing yoga. I've got babies that are shaking their sillies out. I mean, it's all sorts of things that we include, but then at the same time, we're including instruction. And I will say, I think that we have a very dynamic program. Most recently, the American Speech and Hearing Association invited me to do a seminar at our national convention focusing on how we weathered this storm and what virtual platforms looks like for our organization when you're looking at the group. Because when you think about having a classroom of kids on Zoom, you think like loud noises. Right. How does that work? Like everybody's crying, everybody's trying to talk at the same time. But we're very methodical with it, muting people, getting people engaged, the plan. And so it's been very thorough, but we've done that for everything. So it has actually been amazing to see the changes that have occurred in our, and we were fortunate to also receive the PPP grant, which is great. We're one of the small minority-owned businesses that were fortunate to get that. And so we actually have been able to retain 100% of our business. Wow. And surprisingly, we've actually grown significantly because many organizations in my field have shut down because of the inability to kind of keep the online domain going and stay relevant. So we're definitely blessed.
Right. And I just want to take a moment and humble brag a little bit about that, because I don't think everyone caught that. So you have, I'm just going to recap, but with a spin on it, right? So you have about 200 clients, right? And you had 50 employees. And between March 13 and will we say April 1st?
April 1st, that's when we launched.
2 weeks to transition an entire organization and 200 clients online. Yep. That is incredible. Yeah. And I don't think people realize the amount of the level of effort it takes the synergies it takes to get 250 people in 250 different places online and thriving. So
It
to
was
do
something.
that, right, to do that and to be able to spearhead that is truly incredible, especially since a lot of people in your field were like, internet, that's just what I surf on. They
Right.
had no idea how to leverage the online tools that they have in order to, remarket, rebrand, and position their business to weather this type of environment. You are probably the few speech and language pathology centers that is now pandemic proof.
Yeah, right. And it actually it increased it helped to increase our vision too, because now we're able to look at it like, man, we can serve people all over the country, all over
Yes.
the world, and we didn't think we could do it, And when you're dealing, especially with kids with special needs, you don't think, oh, my child's not going to be able to sustain this type of interaction. They need face to face. They need somebody sitting there with them, hand over hand. But the kids have done remarkable. I mean, it is just amazing to see. And I will say, yeah, I appreciate you acknowledging how big of a task it was, because I referenced that recently. I was writing something for a fellowship application, and I said this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But I couldn't say it without saying that the only way it was possible was with the team. Like literally. Like there was no way this could have happened by myself at all. Couldn't, and it wouldn't happen with a mediocre team. It had to be a team that really felt valued and tapped into the mission. And we're just so blessed to have a team like that,
Right.
So it's been nice.
That brings up a very good point. We have a lot of solopreneurs out here, women that are just running their entire shop by themselves, right? And so I love how you highlighted the fact that you don't need just any team with you. You need, an A-list or all-star team.
Yeah.
Switching gears, as a leader, how are you able to develop? How did you come about building your all-star team?
You know what? My mom is, I'm once again, I am unbelievably grateful to have a resource like her. So she has her right-hand person who has worked with her for 39 of the 41 years. She is 75 years old. She comes in one day a week still to this office and says that she will be here until the day that she passes away. Literally. She is that loyal. I think it's about treating people well, and it's not about the size of your team, because we've been a small business for a long time. It's just about having somebody that you can trust implicitly. And I think one of the things that I do, that I've seen my mother do, that I also try to do, is let people know that they're valued, having people aware of the fact that they play an important role. I try to, in this process of changing things, and all the processes, I'm like, I trust you to do your job. I trust you. And something about that is big. And then I also think tapping into the mission, in a lot of the doctoral work that I did, I focused on organizational culture, and they talked about the organizations that really did well and that thrive and that grow and that are successful, or organizations where people are honed in on the mission. Like, we're doing this for the kids, we're doing it for us, we're doing it for, people of color. Let me just keep it simple. We are doing it to give access to our kids that are Black and brown, that don't have the same level of access. They deserve great services just like us. Just like anybody. Us, I say us because I'm Black and brown, so I missed that. But I'm saying everybody deserves equal services and equal access, and that's what we strive for.
Right. Can you share a little bit about how have you gotten folks to be aligned with the mission? Is that something that is discussed every day? Is that something that's, in their eyesight every day as well? How is it? How do you get a whole team laser focused on the mission?
I think we share, we do a really good job of documenting. So for us, we are oftentimes taking videos, we're telling stories. I think the power of having an organization that's been around for 40 years, We can hear about the changes, the weathering of the storm. And I think everybody really values that. So just like a meeting right now that we're in the process of having, we opened it up talking about the town hall meetings that we had for our adults with autism related to the George Floyd situation. So we played the staff this video and said, like, this is what's happening. You know, I mean, knowing them too, tapping into what's going on in their life and understanding, you know, okay, oh, you have a brother with autism. Oh, that's what we do, you know, or your grandma passed away. Man, I remember this moment, you know, and I think just the human effect, sometimes we try to keep it so like this is work and you need to do that, but at the same time, you need to tap into humanity. And I think that's probably what we've done to try to get everybody involved. We do a lot of retreats, a lot of moments where they come together and just share who they are. And I think people feel bought in when they actually, you know, have skin in the game and they're doing it for the right reasons. And so we've got to bring that out of them, but we also share that aspect of us too.
Right. And I love that. And I just want to recap for folks that, you know, the way that you've built a strong team is really forming those relationships and being genuine in forming those relationships.
Yes.
And wanting to learn about, you know, your people that are working for you and wanting to help them, just not at work, but in their life as a whole. You know, we've all had some of those bosses where, you know, they come into our cubicle or our office and say, how are you doing? And before you can answer, they go, that's great. I'll see you later. It's like, it's not just a check in the box. It's not a check in the block. You genuinely care. And I think that resonates with people. Not only that, but just to go back to what you were able to do during this time. You know, it would have been so easy to take the PPP loan and then still lay off 25%, right? But your mom and you made a commitment to retain 100% of the employees. Think about how that makes them feel, that no one is going to get left behind. And so that I see as a, you know, another indication of how much the employees love working for you as well.
Yes. And even before getting the PPP loan, we were in the second wave. So first wave, we were like, man, we didn't get it. Second wave, we got it. But even before then, we still had such a commitment to these people who have been family for years and years, or even the newest people that we were like, we got to figure this out for them. Like, I didn't want to go in there and be like, we got to all file employment, you know, let's just figure this out. No, like we wanted to find a way. So that commitment to people, and like I said, doing the right thing unleashes all those blessings. So the next thing that happened was us getting this and really securing it. And now you're back, you're restored, you're whole, and just enjoy this moment, you know?
Right. Not only are you whole, but you're thriving and you're able to reach a market that you wouldn't have been able to pre-COVID. And I want to circle back on something you mentioned earlier. You're saying that statistically speaking, Black and brown children don't necessarily have the access to early child development. And I know a lot of people that might be tuning in might not understand what you mean by that statement. Could you elaborate? Could you share with us why that might be the case?
Yeah, you know, there's what they call the term disparity in services. And basically what they're saying is that there is limited access to high quality services. There's a number of factors that determine this. Socioeconomic status, we know that. How much money is in your household, the area that you live in, because we know that you're going to see nicer people are going to like driving to work to Beverly Hills versus driving to work in Compton. And, you know, that's just the reality, the unfortunate reality of disparity of services. So socioeconomic status, access to knowledge, you know, how much information do we share with our families? We see, obviously, given the series of events, just the treatment that many of our Black males are going through right now. That's the same thing that occurs. It may not occur in terms of a police putting their knee on your neck, but it occurs when you walk into an office and you want to try to get your kid the same services that somebody from 90210 is accessing. And so just the differences in terms of what we share with these people. And so with us as for us, we are, proud of our heritage, and we are not a group of people that's like, we're doing the best here, so we're going to serve the best of the best. No, the best of
Mhm.
the best is literally all of humanity. And I
Right.
feel more fulfilled going down and saying, Mrs. Smith, you have 5 kids. You're out here. I know you're working the best, doing the best that you can, but it's okay. Let me help you out. Like, I'll drive to your house. I don't
Mhm.
mind. I will go there. And that's just been our general thing. We've never turned anyone away. But on the contrary, that means that people who, because of the fact that we're providing strong services, somebody from 90210 will feel comfortable coming down to our office and receiving services because they know it's the best. So we just do the right thing, but we
Right.
never limit who we offer the experience to, and especially if you can't pay, that's not a determining factor, and that's big. So we see like differences in terms of the services that kids in South LA are receiving right now in comparison to children on the West Side.
Mhm.
The consumers, the people that are accessing these services have no clue what to ask for. We do a lot of parent training where we support
Mhm.
the parent to get them to increase their self-efficacy so that they're aware of like, hey, this is what you need to fight for. This is what you need to say. I will
Mhm.
go out to IEPs, support parents. I did one just last week, and the family's like, "What? You'll come with me to the IEP?" I'm like, "Sure. Actually, I love doing this. Like, I love getting your kids services if I can because I'm inspired and fueled. My mom's the same way from knowing that I've gotten this child the same thing that somebody else that comes in with 5 lawyers sitting next to them is able to get."
Right.
And so it just
Right.
motivates us. We're really working to try to change that trajectory, and to limit the disparity.
Right. Um, have you noticed that sometimes the lack of resources is also cultural? I've heard I can't cite the article, but I do hear that there are cultural challenges
Absolutely.
around that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like for example, um, I just went through a training where we talked primarily about Hispanic families and the idea of being very humble and appreciative of what has been given to you. So when I say I'm going to give you this Honda of services, you
Right.
say, "Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. That's great. We're gracious people culturally."
Mhm.
Versus there's some cultures that will say, "Oh, you're gonna give me the Honda? Well, do you have the Cadillac in the back? Can you give me the Cadillac? Why can't I get the Cadillac?" Right? So we know it's cultural, and that's what we see. We see like also there's so many other things, especially in the Hispanic community, immigration status. There's families who feel uncomfortable. They don't want to be in the spotlight because they don't know if you're going to try to bring up other things that aren't necessarily relevant to the situation.
Right.
Same with Black families. We'll just say, keep your child quiet, keep them right next to you, sit down right here. But your
Mhm.
child's sitting right here, they're quiet, they're well behaved. They're not, they know how to act right in public. We'll say that. That's something that we often hear in the Black community. You better act right when you're out there. But when it comes to the evaluation, this child may not get an autism diagnosis because he can act right. He's not showing all of these behaviors that you may see with a family who is more willing to let their kid just be free, do what you
Mhm.
have to do. So yeah, culture plays a huge part. You're spot on about that.
Wow. Yeah. So just I'm going to take a step back to something that you mentioned earlier as well. It's around the move towards an online structure because I'm just so impressed and amazed by that. It also takes an entrepreneurial spirit, an innovative spirit to take a business that is already 41 years established and then grow it and put your own spin on it. How are you able to do that, and how are you doing that now?
Hmm. I think the hunger. I'm like
Mhm.
always wanting to do the next thing, like, and then I think also realizing that we have unlimited ability, you
Mhm.
know. I think big. I'm like, well, my mom already did that. Like she's already got this building here. Like, what am I going to do? How do I, continue to stay relevant? I think that hunger, drives you. My husband is, constantly, he's in a different realm where he's dealing with larger organizations. He's doing funding. So he comes home and he tells me about different places and what they're doing. I'm able to be like, oh, how can we incorporate that? We just want to stay relevant. When this all happened and my mom saw that this was actually a moment where we can seize this opportunity and grow from it, she was like, I know this is a pandemic, but I'm really excited. And I was like, huh, you're right. I'm excited too. So being up for the challenge, I think, is a big part. You just got to stay hungry. I'm never happy. I'm happy. I'm happy with the things that I'm given, but I'm never at a place of complacency.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think it's important. Again, I'm just going to highlight everything you say.
Thank you, Chandra.
That people need to stay hungry, even when they've achieved a certain level of success. Always stay hungry, stay relevant. And I like how you take the information that your husband comes home with, who's in the funding realm, and connect the dots. It's not enough just to stay relevant. It's also being able to see opportunities and things that, historically don't necessarily apply to your industry. So that's another way to keep the business going as well. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, a lot of families are still home. I'm one of those. My school has not opened up. Our teacher, Miss Michelle, hears from me on a regular basis how much I miss her and love her.
Right.
How can parents in a similar situation who still have kids at home, are struggling to figure out, how to help them with their development, what can they do to keep their kids learning?
That's a great question. I'm asked that often. And I think the main thing I tell families is take advantage of this moment. Even with everything that I do, I spend 3 hours a day sewing into her education. If it's something, if I'm on our virtual preschool class, obviously I'm blessed. I have a preschool, so my kid has access to it. But if I wasn't, I just am like, you know what? I've got 24 hours. I got to be able to carve in just a moment. And that's what you're doing. I get a chance to talk to you. You tell me what you're doing, and it's great to be able to hear that, like, you're like, okay, like, do I do puzzles? Do I do flashcards? And realize that I think also in this day and age, we have to remember that while the internet is amazing, it cannot be 100% responsible for teaching our children. So taking a second and saying, like, I'm going to do this old school, pictures, magazines. We're in the car, I'm going to get from point A to point B. Instead of, turning on my music or taking a phone call, I'm like, what do you see? Do you see a tree? Oh, what do you think about the tree? And it's scalable. So just, I feel like this is a moment that we're called right now to really tap in with our kids, and we can't take it for granted, because the world's going to get going in a second, and we're seeing that, and when this is gone, our kids will go back to the normal, whatever that new normal is. And that moment will be gone. So just use what you have, meet them where you are, and engage. Engagement does everything.
I love that. Okay. So engage. Got it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that old. Yeah.
Own in.
Yeah. And I think having a conversation with a 3-year-old is enlightening. And so we started ending our day with, tell me about your day. What was your favorite thing? And, I'm always surprised by, what comes out of their mouth, right?
I know, right? The way they see the world.
So we are coming up on 30 minutes, but I just wanted to close it by, putting your information at the bottom. If anyone, has any questions about, development, recognizing any early signs for their own children's development. You are now national because you're online. Is there anything you want to close with in terms of what parents can do to increase their development. I know we just talked about some ways to engage with them, but as we go towards the new normal, whatever that looks like, how can Speak LA support them?
Yeah, absolutely. We are here to support people with autism across the lifespan. So, whether it is our social skills groups, our parenting groups as a resource, our website, our Spectrum Shield law enforcement training program, where kids come from all over the country to learn how to engage and interact safely with law enforcement. We're trying to change the way that autism is looked at in this world. So do definitely contact us. Reach out, give me a call, let me know that you've had a chance to see me or listen to this conversation, and I'm here to help. I can help anybody. So that's our goal. We want to be able to give access. We also, do publish. We have some books. I have another book coming out soon that I'm really excited about. And so we just definitely want to be able to be a resource for families all over the world. So contact us.
Thank you, Dr. for a more inclusive world. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Sandra, for having me.
Yes, and thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next week at the same nap time. Take care.
All right. Take care.